Two, one, and we are live, everyone, for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and I'm joined by Seth Winchell. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. Let's dive into the news this week. It was a slower week this week, but let's start with some personal stuff, both on Seth's side and my side. I just came back yesterday from Porsche's Experience Center in Los Angeles. Didn't have time to put the article up or the video. I need to get some footage back before I can post everything, but I guess I can talk to you a little bit, people on the podcast, about it, because it was a ton of fun. I mean, I'm both my arms are dead today from all that driving yesterday. I mean, I have a newfound respect for like race car drivers and everything, because it's actually like a physical activity to do that kind of driving. It was a ton of fun. But yeah, for those who don't know, and I didn't know until recently, the Porsche Experience Center, they have one in Los Angeles, and then they have one in Atlanta, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what they do there is basically they have some racetrack. Well, they officially call it a test track, because they don't do actual races on them. It's just testing and some fun. And then they have a bunch of different courses on the property. Like they have a pad with concrete and some water on it to simulate some sliding on highs. Then they have a drifting pad. They have an autocross course. Then they have also like a really long launch pad to get like a full acceleration run. So what they do is that they have cars there, of course, the latest cars or some of their top performance vehicles, and people can come there and for a fee, they get to try out those cars in a safe environment and push them to the limits. And also they let Porsche owners come to the track with their own car, and they can have a driving instructor help them like get the full potential out of their car through the experience. And now, since they launched the Taycan, they have for the first time an electric car at the Experience Center. And of course, the Taycan launched, and then there was the COVID and everything, so they had to shut down the place. But now they are reopening up, and they're reopening up in a very safe way. Like I came to the center, and they took my temperature. They require you to have a mask at all time, except in the cars. And once in the car, why you can remove the mask is that the driving instructor is not in the car with you anymore, which is a bit of a bummer, because of course, like I think it probably would be easier to have him in the car to give you pointers, but what they do instead is they have the driving instructor is in the lead car in front of you, and he has a radio, and he's radioing instruction to you. It was still pretty good. I felt like the only more difficult thing is that like you cannot pass, of course, the lead instructor, so you have to go at his speed. And for sure, the driving instructor was better than me, so it's not like I could pass him, but it's just that because you have to follow him, like it's a different experience where you don't like you're following a car. You don't feel like you're going around on the track, everything like by yourself. But yeah, for the first time now, they have an electric car, and they really put in the Taycan front and center. They deployed the Porsche's proprietary charging stations. You've seen those set, like they're super tall,
Yep.
Black and everything.
They had in Atlanta as well.
Yeah, they have one in Atlanta, one in LA now. And those are the ones that would eventually support the 350 kilowatt charging capacity that Porsche claimed that its 800 volt system enables. Though it's still not the case right now. I think it caps to like 270 or something like that on the Taycan.
Yeah, we just barely got 270.
Yeah, it's just still barely. I mean, it's still pretty good. It's just
Right.
not quite to the 350 that they first promised, but they say that it's going to come soon. Anyway, those chargers are like front and center on the staging pad now, where people get into the cars and everything. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then it was my first time driving the Taycan, of course, because I was there at the unveiling, but then we didn't get a car for a long time. Finally, Seth got inside the car. When was that? Like January or something?
Yeah, we drove from Daytona to Atlanta.
Yeah. So you got the first drive for Electrek. But then the COVID happened, everything, and we had issue trying to get a long-term loaner for a full review. So that was my first opportunity to get in the car, and I I mean, I was already a giant fan of the car just based on the design of it. Like, I think it's one of the best looking cars I've ever seen. One of the best looking product, period. Like the design engineering that went behind that car is absolutely insane to me. But I had some concerns in terms of like a performance car as a with a 5,000-pound Porsche. Like that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect it to. They're known for their handling and everything, but when you get into the car, and you do definitely feel that weight. But there's so much power behind it that it's easy to forget it. And also that weight helps with stability at high speed. I got the car to like 120 miles per hour on the track, and you don't feel it at all. Like you have to really, like, you look down at the speedometer and you're shocked. Really, I'm going that speed? Because the car feels just so stable. It's insane.
Yeah.
And the torque vectoring too is really fun. Like we did a little autocross course. I had a ton of fun with that. With the handling, it's just so strong, it sticks to the ground. The only thing I had a problem with is that there was a big bend in it in the autocross, and I lost control a few times trying to get it, because you think with the handling you're so comfortable with it because it's so grounded, but then you shift that weight around on the front tires when you go inside a bend, and you can overload the front tires a little bit when you go too fast because of that weight. It's just, even though it's well distributed inside the car, when you're in a bend at high speed, it front loads pretty quick. But yeah, what else was fun? Oh yeah, they had us do some removing of the stability control systems, and they had this track that was polished concrete. They had a circle of polished concrete that they kept putting water on, so you could disable stability control and try to drift it around a little bit. But here's the crazy part of the car, because it's dual motor and such powerful dual motor and the torque vectoring. Just with that alone, even without the stability control, that helps you keep the car stable. So I felt like I needed to try to drift the car around. I needed to push it a lot harder than I would with any other car normally. And especially since it's not my car, like it's Porsche's. Porsche is nice enough to lend me a car and everything. I try to be careful with it, but I feel like you have to be very aggressive to have some fun with that. Then they had this simulation of like you go on this giant pad, and they have a slushing of water on that can come from either side that will simulate the car like hitting an ice patch basically. And you put the stability control off of that, and then they send you on it, and your goal is like to keep control of the car even though it slids. And the instructor was like shocked, like, you're doing this perfectly. Like, how do you even know that? Because they're used to California drivers all the time coming there. And I mean, that pad is basically like a simulation of Quebec roads in the winter. So for me, it was like business as usual driving on that pad. But the car performed well too. I mean, I'm not, all the credit doesn't go to me. But overall, really like that car. Really like the experience that they have there too. I would recommend it. It's not cheap though. I think they said it's $695 to get there for the day, or a half day experience, something like that, to get behind the Taycan for that time. But if you're considering the Taycan, you probably have that kind of money anyway. So right. I would do that before buying the Taycan if you can. If you cannot, like, and you want a Taycan, I mean, I say go for it anyway, because I really love the car. And then you can bring your own car there and have the experience. That can be really fun too, because I mean, you have a car with that much power, you cannot really use it to its full potential on the road, at least not in a safe way for you and others. So this is like an opportunity to do that in a very safe environment. So really like that. And now for you, Seth, you started posting your Model Y diary this week after you got your delivery last weekend.
Yeah.
How's it going so far?
So I love the car. Like maybe it didn't come through because first I was handing back a barely working Model X. Yeah. And then there was all the panel gaps that everybody else has been seeing as well on my car. And on one hand, it's kind of upsetting that it's still an issue over there. I mean, Elon sent that email like 2 or 3 years ago saying our precision is going to be 10 times better than the industry. Like it just isn't at this point. And that's disappointing. But for me, like if I can stand 10 feet away from the car and it looks good and I can, then I'm really not too stressed out about it. I mean, I guess I have to think about, when I try to sell this thing, people are going to be like, well, the gaps are weird. But like, frankly, I'm not that bothered either way. It's been a fantastic car, for this past few days. It's super fast, obviously. I mean, you've driven it. It feels a lot like a Model 3. It's not like a Model 3 performance, but I'm sure the performance Model Y is similar. It's what everybody says and what you would expect. It's a Model 3, but like a foot or foot and a half, 2 feet taller. You're riding a little higher. You have a lot more room inside, which I think is a big deal. Like the Model 3, if there was anything to complain about, is kind of that, you have to get in low and you're kind of riding your feet up.
Some people like that though, for sure. Like,
oh yeah.
Especially my Model 3 is a performance version, and like if you want to have some fun with it, that position is a little bit better. But for like just day-to-day riding, I know a lot of people like to be taller, but you don't like it's a hinge, I think, difference in ground clearance. So you don't feel that much taller, I think, in the
well, there's an inch on the ground, and then there's like what they jack up the seats like another 6 inches or something.
6 inches, you sure?
It's pretty high. I would say 5 or 6 inches for sure.
I mean, I'm looking at the pictures here, and like people on YouTube can see them too. And it's not that bad for sure, but there's some of them like this one right here. That's one of the doors.
Yeah.
This one I don't like. Like you have a few like 3-4 millimeters sticking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's is not that great.
I mean, I'm actually expecting a Tesla because I noted these things when I was taking delivery, and the guy was like, "Oh, we can have a service guy come check it out." So I was like, "All right." And then strangely, they scheduled today, like two hours ago, and of course they're not here yet. So hopefully they'll be here today, later, or maybe right in the middle of this podcast. So anyway, car's great. We're planning a trip to Vermont. We're trying to take some bikes up there. I was really trying to get the bike rack going. Tesla didn't have any bike racks. They said they didn't know when they were going to get them. So I went online and bought this one from, it's called the Eco Hitch from Torcliffe, right? And the reason I got it is because it's really the only other option. Like there's one other option out there besides Tesla's. And a bunch of people have already installed it and said it was fine. So I got it. I basically ripped off the back of the car last night and installed it on the bumper. It's not that hard. It's just really scary, like ripping your brand new car apart. Like, every step was pretty straightforward. I'm not a car ripper aparter kind of guy. So it was kind of my first time, at this level. So, some parts were scary, but the YouTubers were actually a lot more helpful than the instructions, which were just like, bad Xerox copies of, a very rough instruction set. But now, it's on there and it works and it's fine. And I got all the panels back on, and at least as good a condition as they came. So I'm pretty happy with the situation. And it was kind of nice that Tesla's coming after I'm doing this. So if I had, if they had come out and then I screwed it up, I'd be in bad shape. So the next couple of days, so we're driving up to Vermont. I'm going to take it, 180 miles with the bike rack on it. It'll be interesting to see what kind of range I have on that.
Are you putting 4 bikes on that?
Probably just 2 or 3 tops. We have 2 up there already.
Okay.
I might get a new bike rack now that I got this situation, because my kids' bikes they're not good for racking.
Okay.
Which is like, I got 4 hours of getting this on, and then I was like, all right, it's perfect. And then I put my kid's bike on there and I was like, it doesn't fit. Like, crap. So yeah, I'll figure that out later.
I'm curious to see how much the range is affected by you putting like three,
yeah,
even two bikes on that.
yeah. I think it's going to be significant. A guy in the comments said it took 60 miles off of his Model 3 range. So he had a bike rack on his Model 3, and I guess he got 240 miles out of 300. So if that's all I lose, then I'll be in great shape because it's only a 180-mile trip.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's quite the project you had there. But at the same time, like if you absolutely need it this weekend, and Tesla's always back order with that kind of stuff, it can be hard to get those parts.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the news of the week here. It was kind of a slow week to a degree. There wasn't that much news, but a few pieces to more discussing. First of all, a friend of the site, Brendan Noblock. I'm sorry if I'm messing up your last name. He did a very cool representation of all the size of land that Tesla purchased for their, well, not all purchased because some of them are landed, like Gigafactory Shanghai, for example, but the size of all the land on which they're building factories, just to show you the size of the Gigafactory Texas, just how big it is and how much potential it has for future expansion. I cannot open that for some reason. I cannot go bigger than that, but it is way bigger. I mean, it's something that both Elon and Jerome Gulliam noted during the last earning calls. They said that it is their biggest piece of land yet, and I mean, technically, I think Giga Nevada is just as big, but most of it is like on hills and everything in the desert that you wouldn't be really able to build on unless you like does some major demolition work or something, like like TNT the whole mountain or something. But Gigafactory Texas, other than a few ponds that they would need filling and everything, pretty much the entire land can be built on, and it's also on both sides of the highway. So like Tesla could have like its own little town, really, there, its own little campus on top of the factories, and they definitely need that land because they have Elon last week confirmed 4 different vehicle programs that are going to be built there: Cybertruck, Tesla Semi, Model 3, and Model Y. So that's pretty much what the like the number of programs they're building in Fremont factory. So, and we know how big Fremont is, though it's extremely compact. It's in the city. But the big question that remains is whether Tesla is going to produce batteries at Gigafactory Texas. And with the size of the land that they have here, you could see that definitely would be room for a battery factory. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tesla deploying some Roadrunner battery manufacturing system there. Look how big this is.
Pretty big.
And really, they really just like a few operations there already, the concrete plant and everything, but most of it is just land that needs to be prepared a little bit, and then they can build on it.
I wonder if they keep the concrete plant open while they're building the buildings to make the concrete for the buildings, and then close it down after.
Could be useful, yeah. I mean, we already posted, a lot of people are sending us drone video. We appreciate it. Of course, right now we get like 10 of them and there's not that much happening, so we cannot post them all. I'm sorry if we don't post your video when you send them. But as things progress more, we're going to post more updates. And we know that we see the Tesla's already already has a lot of EV machinery on site, moving dirt around to prepare for the construction. Model Y pricing. Okay, that was a weird one that happened yesterday. So a few weeks ago, earlier this month, if you remember, Elon announced that they could kill the standard range for the Model Y. Instead, they're only going to launch the Model Y long-range rear-wheel drive. That's going to be the new cheapest option for Model Y buyers. He said it's coming up in the next few months, but he didn't confirm a price. But he did his googly eyes to someone saying if it's going to cost $45,000. So a lot of people assume that's going to be the price, well, even though it's not a perfect confirmation. Now we spotted in the financing and leasing calculator that Tesla have, if you choose the Model Y, Tesla added the long-range rear-wheel drive option for the car. So, and it's listed at $48,000. So it's the first time that Tesla released an updated price for it. But it's not something that you cannot order it from that thing. It's just they just added it to the calculator for some reason. And after we posted our article, like an hour or two later, they removed it. So doesn't necessarily mean that the price is wrong. It just means that they don't want to release it right now. But $48,000 was kind of surprising because, again, like I said, Elon hinted at $45,000. It's also just $2,000 cheaper than the current cheapest Model Y, which is, of course, a long-range all-wheel drive. So the car is basically the same thing. It's just you lose the motor on the front. So is the motor worth $2,000? Probably, though technically you do lose a lot of performance with that motor. So for that $2,000, I don't know if it's worth the performance loss, though you are likely to see a range increase with just the rear motor. That's what we've been seeing with the Model 3. When Tesla used to have a long range rear-wheel drive, it would have a higher range than the dual motor long range battery. So we assume that it would have a longer range. Elon only disclosed significantly more than 300 miles, and the dual motor all-wheel drive currently gets 316 miles EPA. So significantly more than 300. It's hard to tell what that means, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we see like 330 miles or something like that. What did the original Model Y long range? You have one, Seth? So, do you remember the official range on that car?
I don't know, it was like 310 or something.
Really? And I think they increased it like 322 or something like that after launch. Yeah. But then, of course, like doesn't make more sense to have more than that with a Model Y. But at the same time, Tesla has improved efficiency over the years, so that still could be the case. But yeah, anything between also originally Tesla, when first announced the long-range rear-wheel drive, they announced it at $47,000. So I think anywhere between 45 and 48 would make sense.
Yeah,
you noted that it might be a price that they determined before the price drop.
That's what my idea was, especially with Elon saying that 45,000 made sense. And the other thing is, like, you know, what $5,000 for not having the second set of wheels in the motor. I kind of feel like that's a good price spread.
Yeah. 48,000 minus 3,000 would give you 45. So that could make sense, but we'll probably know very soon, because if he said that he's launching the car in the next few months, I would assume that the configurator will launch in the next month or so. Like I would be surprised if we don't see the car and the configurator by the end of August.
Yeah.
All right. That was our biggest post of the week. People love to know what Elon Musk is driving, apparently. Elon Musk's personal Model S was spotted in front of the headquarters at SpaceX earlier this week, and the car was featuring a strange color. Well, strange, like a color that we're not used to for a Tesla vehicle. So, and since Elon recently mentioned that his new favorite Tesla color was deep crimson, and that was based on when he was talking about the Berlin Gigafactory having a new paint shop that's going to enable new colors with multi-layered colors that changes with the light and everything. So when a listener to the Ride the Lightning podcast spotted that, people started speculating that it was the new deep crimson. And Elon later confirmed that it's indeed a prototype for the deep crimson. He called it prototype of the color. I mean, the car was in the shade, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly.
Looks more purple to me.
A lot of people are saying that. Some people are saying purple. Some people are even saying black, just with like a weird shine to it. So, but not a lot of people are calling it crimson. I mean, crimson in my head, it's red, right? It's like you call it the deep crimson, but Mo Hibbert said burgundy. I think burgundy is probably the closest that makes sense to me. But yeah, I mean that's in the shade. Maybe in like direct sunlight, it looks a lot more red. I don't know. To me, it's a little resemblance to the signature red. When my car, my Model S signature red, when it's in the dark when it's not in direct sunlight. It looks darker, a lot darker, and it looks similar to that to a degree. So it's reminiscent of that to me, like Tesla sort of bringing back a new version of the signature red. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait a little while because no car is coming out of Gigafactory Berlin until end of next year. So apparently the first time that this car is going to see the daylight is going to be in Germany on a Tesla Model Y, because that's the first car that Tesla plans to build there. All right, a tiny tidbit of information that came out of Panasonic this week that was interesting. The head of Panasonic's US battery business, and basically the guy is in charge of the partnership that Panasonic has with Tesla Gigafactory Nevada. He disclosed that they are updating the production lines in September. You remember what's happening in September, Seth?
Battery Day?
Is that a coincidence, you think?
I don't think that is a coincidence.
He said that they're updating the lines, and the goal is to increase energy density. And he gave a long timeline on that. So like, take it with a grain of salt. He said that the energy density is going to increase by 20% over the next 5 years at the batteries they're building for Tesla and Gigafactory Nevada. So yeah, he also added that they're going to commercialize a cobalt-free version of the same battery within 2 to 3 years. So Tesla's been talking a lot about that, about reducing the amount of cobalt in each batteries, and eventually leading to no cobalt. Though there was never a clear timeline on that. So now apparently there is 2 to 3 years. It's gonna happen. But yeah. I mean, batteries have always incrementally improved year over year. Not that new. I mean, 20% over 5 years is good. I would say that's good, not especially great or anything like that. But it adds up. Like if they do incrementally over the next 5 years and ended up 20% overall, there's other things you can do with that. I mean, the most exciting to me is like you can take all of Tesla's current battery lineups, make them 20% lighter. You're gonna get more range out of all of them, while keeping higher battery production, and so you're gonna be able to make more cars with the same amount of battery per weight, let's say.
Yep.
And the cars are gonna be lighter, so more fun to drive, and they're gonna go further. This period. Of course, a lot of other people are saying what you can do is like you can make bigger battery pack that's going to be the same weight really of the current ones, but are going to have 20% higher energy density. So they're going to be able to have 20% higher capacity overall, which I'm sure that's going to happen too. Like there's going to be at least an option within the Tesla's lineup to make that happen, probably in the higher end of the lineup. But so maybe pushing for something like getting the first 500-mile car or anything like that. That's not the most exciting thing to me, though. I know people like when they push the range further and further and further, but like with Tesla's current lineup, I just don't see how someone could have range anxiety with any of the cars in the lineup. So that's not something that's that exciting to me.
Do you think Tesla would ever change the shape of their batteries? So, for instance, like you could dig out some more leg room for the driver or passengers. I know Volvo has in their upcoming Recharge, they kind of scooped out the battery. They're on the same skateboard, but they scooped out the battery where the people's feet go, so that they have more leg room and their feet can go lower. Just wondering.
Yeah, Tesla used sort of a similar design. It's just that it's not the battery modules that are there. Is that the power electronic housing is a bit higher up, and they use that to put under the seats. So they have a similar thing like that. I'm sure that the battery pack design is going to evolve too, because I know that they're working a lot on battery modules.
Yeah, and
the modules influence the pack design and so on. So I wouldn't be too surprised if that's the case. Very interesting comment from Elon, though. I'm going to put it in perspective. On Twitter this week following, we reported on a bunch of comments from Volkswagen and Audi and a bunch of executives there that are all like openly admitting that Tesla has a lead on them and over the rest of the industry on some key areas of electrifications. One of the comments was from the Audi all these new CEOs saying that Tesla, like they have a big advantage by designing the cars around the batteries and not coming from a car industry and just going from the battery and building from the ground up from there, and that may result in higher efficiency and everything. Like that's all good stuff. We like that to hear, and that's why I think Volkswagen is one of the best positioned legacy automaker to survive the transition to electrification, because they're looking at Tesla. They're like, all right, this is what works. We have to take examples. So that's encouraging. But Elon took the comment differently. He took the comment like, all right, if you guys have a trouble, let's help them out. And he said that I'm quoting here: Tesla is open to licensing software. Okay, yeah, because software was also one of the problems that Volkswagen was experiencing, and supplying powertrains and batteries. We're just trying to accelerate sustainable energy, not crushing competitors.
So how do you feel about that? Do you think that's being honest or no?
I think it's hard to tell exactly. I don't think he's being dishonest when he says that. I just think that he will not put any effort towards it, though. He's like, yeah, we're open to it. That's the word that he used. We're open to it. But is he going to put the work in that it takes to actually implement the software with other automakers and license that? And is he going to commit any production capacity to supplying powertrains and batteries to other manufacturers in the near futures? That I don't see that happening, because it happened before. We
Right.
saw it. We saw it with Daimler. We saw it with Toyota. But that was back when Tesla had to, first of all, because these people saved Tesla's butt for a while with investment at really important time back in 2009 with Daimler, 2010 with Toyota, with the giving them basically the Fremont factory for pennies on the dollar. So part of that deal was Tesla's going to supply their technology, the powertrain technology, make the powertrain for them for several vehicle programs. I mean, for Daimler, it was the Smart EV for a while, then the Mercedes B-Class Electric. For Toyota, that was the RAV4 EV. So Tesla did that. But then they both went their other ways, and they all had different reasons for it. But on Tesla's side, the reason has been clear. Like, we are production constrained. We need all the capacity in terms of batteries and powertrain that we can for our own vehicle programs. That's been true. It's true right now. And I think it's going to be true for the foreseeable future, because, I mean, can you even count right now how many vehicle programs Tesla is adding to its lineup? Like, it's insane.
It's impressive.
Yeah. And the Tesla Semi alone, like that, how much battery that's gonna consume. Cybertruck, exceptional consumer of battery cells. Like that vehicle is gonna be. I mean, we were trying to estimate the other episode, like how much battery capacity is gonna take on average per car, per truck, I should say. And I mean, it's gonna take literally like a few Model 3 or few Model Ys per Cybertruck. And if we are to believe the reservation number, the kind of demand that's behind the Cybertruck, it's going to be probably more batteries at Tesla, more battery per year than Tesla is consuming right now just for the Cybertruck.
Right.
So I really don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Elon even mentioned when it comes to software, he even mentioned Autopilot. We are open to licensing Autopilot software. But that's something that came up in the past too. He said that in the past, and he also said at the same time, and that I believe for sure, that it would actually be a ton of work to try to implement the Autopilot to a new car model, because the Autopilot works with Tesla's sensor suite. So you need to also implement the sensor suite on the new car and then balance it all out to work with the software and everything. I mean, Tesla is getting better at it, because they first introduced it on Model S and X, and then Model 3, and then Model Y and everything. So the more car they add up to the lineup, the more they adapt to it, the more they get better at it. But that's their own car. So now you have to work with the design team of another automaker, with the engineering team of another automaker to place those. How many sensors is in Tesla's suite? There's 8 cameras, a radar, a bunch of ultrasonic sensors. Like, this is a lot of things to implement that make sense.
Yeah.
Unless they want to use their sensor suite and try to make the Autopilot software work on that. But that's also a ton of work to adapt it and everything. So I really don't see it happening. I think Tesla doesn't have the bandwidth right now.
Yeah, and it's a little bit reminds me a little bit of the charging patents thing. Like
Yeah.
they said, hey, we're going to open our charging patents to anybody who wants them, but the terms weren't, obviously, like if it was easy, everybody would jump on board because why not? But I have a feeling it becomes so complicated. And then whenever there's a charging company or anybody who really wants to use Tesla's charging system, it always kind of just shuts down and disappears. So I don't think they're quite as open as it sounds.
Yeah, that's something that's been misreported a lot, and people don't understand it very well. But when Tesla said like all our patents belong to you, that was a big marketing push and everything around it. But they didn't open source the patent in the true sense of the term. Really, they said if you use them in good faith, which of course is a term that's pretty vague in itself, we're not going to sue you. That's all it said. But then Tesla can quickly determine that they're not using it in good faith for a bunch of different ways. And I know it's not a perfect analogy and everything, but it's not a direct relation to it. But the only company that we know for a fact that admitted themselves to using Tesla's patents has been Xpeng. And then what happened? Tesla ended up suing Xpeng.
Right.
Not for patents infringement, but for autopilot source code stealing, apparently. Which, of course, is not the same thing. I understand. Like, you stealing a source code and a patent, it's a completely different thing. But it's still like, if I was Xpeng, I would spend some money on my intellectual property department and make sure that everything is ironclad, because obviously they don't have a good relationship with Tesla right now. So, all right, what we have next? While we were on battery supply, we had one source from a German official saying that Tesla is going to build a completely new battery technology at Gigafactory Berlin. So why that is noteworthy is that originally Tesla announced that they would make batteries at Gigafactory Berlin, as a lot of people, I'm sure, expected. But then they updated the plan that they submitted with the government about the factory and removed any plan for battery manufacturing there. That was a month or two ago. So that surprised a lot of people, like, well, what's happening with that? But then now Jörg Steinbach, Minister of Economics at for the province where Tesla is building the Gigafactory Berlin, commented that there's still plans to make battery there, and they're talking about a completely new technology, and said that more is going to be announced in September. Of course, again, that comes back to Battery Day. So he's saying that it's still in the plans, which is not too surprising, but it's still noteworthy to have someone that's close to the project at least commenting on it, I think.
Do you think there'll be GM talked about how they're going to be able to do solid state in 5 or 10 years at their event. Do you think Tesla's got solid state in the roadmap anywhere, or capacitors, ultra capacitors?
I mean, they have a few patents on that front, so they clearly been thinking about it. But I think Tesla, because of its mission to accelerate the advent of electric vehicles, they're really more focused on like, what can we build now at scale for a good cost that will accelerate the industry.
So actually, they're going in the other direction. Like, they're using the less dense batteries
LFP.
in China.
Yeah, I really like Elon's reasoning on that. Like, he was like, they've come good enough, those batteries, now that it makes sense to use them, because our efficiency is so good that we can still use the heavier batteries and get still a decent range, and that frees up then our higher capacity lithium-ion battery cells for other vehicle programs. So I think that's good of Tesla. And again, it comes back to, if Tesla is going that way now to secure battery cell supply, then do we really think that they can sell to other automakers? And I'm not saying that's not in Tesla's future. It's just, I'm saying it's not in the near future. Like, if that happens, I could see Tesla supplying batteries and powertrains to automakers in the future, but like 5-10 years from now, not like 2 or 3 years from now. So all right, the GMC Hummer EV the electric pickup that's coming up. We got some nice new images from a new teaser that GM released this week, including this image right here that shows basically the chassis for the car, for the truck. So that's literally the best look we have so far in pictures, because I know you've seen the car and the truck in person, but weren't allowed to take any pictures. So that's the prototype that you saw, right?
Well, I mean, it looks like when it's done, that'll be the prototype. Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like a Bollinger a little bit. It's that same style. But it also, like, you'll see it and you'll think Hummer. It's not anything. It's that same design language as Hummer. It's just, EV'd up. And actually, it does seem like it's got some cool new interior. I've never actually seen the interior of a Hummer, or I don't remember it. But
you weren't really a big Hummer guy.
not a really big Hummer guy. Yeah, so this thing has a really nice interior as well. So I really wish GM would just kind of break it out, because I think it would cause a little bit of a stir.
So what kind of range can they get on that? What kind of battery pack are they going to need? Because that thing is aerodynamic nightmare, right?
Right. So they're talking a 200 kilowatt hour battery.
Yeah, that's the top end of the Ultimum battery pack that they can make. That's going to power with it. So with 200 kilowatt hour in there, like, can they hit 200 miles?
Oh, for sure.
1 kilowatt hour per mile.
It's the same efficiency as the Tesla semi.
No, I would think a Tesla semi would be much more efficient than this because of the shape.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's got a bigger, facial area, I guess.
Yeah, and the bed on that thing is super small. Like, it's a super small bed.
Right.
But still, at least Tesla's bed, even though it's bigger, it's covered on the sides and everything. So that helps a lot for the aerodynamic efficiency.
Yeah.
Here it's more like a traditional bed, though a super small one. We had a picture here of the front fascia. Looks like it's going to be a giant front trunk in there.
Yep.
We had a quick image of the battery pack, though, like, it's just from the side, but you can see it's giant.
Yeah.
This is the actual shape of the truck too that we get in the teaser here. Oh, the bed is a little bit longer than it looks in the chassis that we see, the prototype chassis.
Yeah, it's almost hard to tell which way is front.
Yeah,
like in the still.
But yeah, so they announced the unveiling. This is going to happen this fall, and the truck, of course, is going to be released next fall. Going to hit the market next fall.
It's going to be a busy fall.
Yeah. Also in the teaser, they do listed a few things that maybe we didn't know about, though we don't know much more about it now. There's going to be something called adrenaline mode. No idea what that is.
I imagine it's probably like ludicrous mode, but
yeah, because they say that the truck's going to do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Then crab mode, which I would assume might be something similar to tank mode that the Rivian has.
Right.
Because do we know if they have independent motors at each wheel?
I feel like it does. Yeah. Sounds right. Like a Super Bowl ad or something said 4 motors.
Yeah. A few other things that they mentioned: super fast charging, whatever that means. I mean, I hope it's over 200 kilowatts. Next gen Super Cruise. So they're gonna have a new version of the Super Cruise in there. It's gonna be more autonomy, I would assume, based on ultra vision camera. So they don't have just vision camera; they have ultra vision cameras.
In regard to the battery charging speed, somebody at whatever Charge America. What is the
Electrify America?
Electrify America. Gee, my brain.
Good thing that they're not a sponsor or anything like that, right?
I know. Need some more coffee. Anyway, Electrify America told me that they were testing a higher charging speed than 350 kilowatt and it was for a GM vehicle.
Oh,
So maybe the Hummer will charge at 400, 500.
Okay, 400 for that. Boy, that's even higher than Porsche's aiming for. All right, another tidbit of news that was interesting, and please leave us our comments. Any question in the comments on the right? We're gonna get to them after that last piece of news here. And that piece of news is about Kandi, the Chinese electric car maker. We've been reporting over the last year that they're trying to get into the U.S. They got U.S. Approval from the DOT last year, and now they're announcing the launch of their cars this week with the full unveiling and start of sales or pre-sales, they call it, next month. So now they announced the two cars are going to hit the market first. And I hate their branding. The cars are called the K27, K23. Guess which one is the bigger vehicle?
The smaller number?
Yes. Make no sense whatsoever. So the K27 is this like smart car type of vehicle, like a mini car, if you will.
That is a weird looking car.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit like a Fiat 500, but like not in a good way.
Yeah.
And
not in a good way. And those wheels.
Those wheels.
Woo, those are small. But the big thing, of course, it's cheap. But it's not that cheap either. We're talking about it's cheap after incentive. Really. That's what it is. Because we're talking about a 17.6 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and also they're using the cheaper Ternary chemistry, so it's not the best chemistry either. They're looking at 100 miles of range on that car. So that's about what the Fiat 500 that we're getting and everything. But cars start at $20,500. So after the federal tax incentive, and that's where the big news is right now. Like everyone is freaking out about the fact that a Chinese automaker is entering the U.S. market and taking advantage of the federal tax credit. But yeah, it's fair game right now. That's what that's all the law is. But if Trump ever wanted to change it, I think now is going to be the time that he's going to want to do it.
Right.
So it comes down to $13,000 for that car. And right now they're only going to have sales in Texas, based in Dallas, because they bought a company in Dallas that already had like a dealership license and everything, and that facilitated the whole process to get approval to import their cars and everything.
Which is weird because you can't. Tesla doesn't have a dealership license. In
yeah, and it's weird too because they own also that company. So like they own the dealerships, so the manufacturer owns the dealerships, which is kind of the same thing that Tesla wants to do. It's an actual separate company, though it's not the same company. But anyway, when that car, and I would assume that car will hit the California market because that's probably where it's gonna have the most demand for it anyway. That car's gonna probably be $10,000 new. And if you look at the interior, like if you don't like the interior doesn't look that bad though. Interior looks fine to me, like especially for a car that price. It's basic, but you see, I have like a big screen and everything. The vision looks good. It's not a bad looking interior. So the K23 is actually a little bit bigger, more expensive car. They call it a small SUV, but like, no. Let's get it together, people. Like, this is not an SUV. Really, I think in the US it would still be considered a compact car. Oh, by the way, about the first car is still a 4-door for seats, though. Like that's not bad either.
Right.
You have just a tiny of trunks in there, but it's an hatchback. Hey, that's good too. This one also an hatch in the back. 4 doors, but just a lot more space, especially the trunk is a lot bigger, though it's still not that big. Certainly not an SUV. The interior also looks good. A lot better than the other one, I would say. Like, yeah, this is a good looking interior in my opinion. Like, yeah, especially when you,
it's good. It's not, I wouldn't, I don't know.
For the price,
it's mediocre.
Yeah. But, the price though, this one I'm kind of surprised like what they're trying to do with that, because it starts at $30,000 before incentive. So $22,500 for after federal tax credit, probably around $20,000 in places like California, and
that's the same price as the Mini.
Yeah, you'd get. I'm sure you get a Mini before getting that.
Yeah, I mean that thing's got more range, but
it does get a 41 kilowatt-hour battery pack in that thing.
Right.
Which is not that bad. They're saying 180 miles of range. So I don't know like what's happening there. I feel like you could almost get that to 200 miles of range if it was efficient enough, but I don't know. They're maybe being a little bit conservative. It's the first time that they're going for an EPA range here, so it's not easy. But yeah, we should learn a lot more next month where we start the pre-sale and about the actual plan. But a lot of hype around the company, especially the stock price shoot up like 350% this week or something like that. Was kind of crazy. All right, let's get into the questions.
All right. We had a couple before the show started. What do you think of the Powerwall 3 specs will be? Similar but cheaper, better for same price, or other? That's from Tyler Hilliard. I think we've talked about this a couple times before. We don't really know much, but
well, and I'm also not getting high expectations because like Tesla has no issue setting the current Powerwall like that. It's back to order like crazy right now. So I really don't see Tesla like it's probably not focused like they're using the don't change if it ain't broke strategy right now for the Powerwall. Right. Not that Tesla sits on its lead; they're known to like always improve and everything, but I just don't see it being a priority right now.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, if they do nothing and just put in the new 1,000,000-mile batteries, they'll have a lot more charge and recharge cycles.
Yeah, but I don't know if they want to use any production capacity for that right now.
Right.
Like if anything, they might try to use cheaper batteries and like you said, maybe keep the specs but reduce the price.
Oh yeah, they might use the batteries that they're using in China.
Yeah,
makes sense. All right, Zachary Bodeker says, if Tesla makes the move to Texas, would the move start a move out of California, since Musk has stated that due to COVID and his run-in with the county that he had considered moving out of the state?
I mean, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. However, I heard of a rumor that Tesla employees have been spreading, like some Tesla employees around California and the Bay Area were started a rumor maybe a month after Elon had his little like fit around that, like with the California, and he wasn't happy. A month later, like some people were trying to start a rumor saying that they are actually making moves towards moving the headquarters, but I wasn't able to confirm anything concrete around that, so I let it go. But I mean, like we discussed earlier in the podcast, there's definitely room in Austin if they wanted to move in a quarter there and build a bigger offices. So it's not impossible, but I mean, the thing that's never going to happen for sure, even though Elon made a threat of it, is to move even the manufacturing out of California. I mean, Fremont factory has been a great deal. It was a pain in the butt, and for a lot of ways, because they had to retrofit an older factory for electric vehicle production. So yes, it wasn't without issues, but overall, like we have to say, like Fremont factory is a giant success. Like giant success.
Right.
No reason to let that $1 billion+ asset go away, like just because you're butthurt over the officials in California and everything, like over COVID, which you were clearly wrong about. Like
right.
Also, like no new cases by April. Like last time I checked, still was 60 new cases a day in the US. Like,
yeah. All right. So Enrique Kennedy says, do you guys have the address? So sticking with the Gigafactory Texas, do you have the address or nearby address for the factory location so I can find it on Google Maps?
I mean, do the Marietta concrete factory. I mean, that's probably the best address that you can find. But there's a bunch of addresses for the factory because it's like we said, it's a 2,000 acre piece of land. So there's a bunch of all around it. So.
All right. OG says, any update on the revamp upgrade of Model S and X?
Well, not since last week. Last week we reported on the Palladium upgrade that Tesla is doing right now for the Model S and X program, but nothing new this week.
Is the new General Assembly line at Fremont online? I think.
So. I don't think so. I think they're still working on that. I mean, there's two new General Assembly line. There's the actual GA5, that's the big one inside, and then there's the 4.5, and then the new 10th outside. So I think they're still working on those.
Dan Oberst says there needs to be an electric vehicle racing school because of the differences that regen braking presents. I mean, I guess that's like downshifting though in the
Yeah, but even then, look, the Taken, like you keep the car in normal mode, and there's no regen at all. It's just coasting, and there's no braking from the regen. It's just say like it still regens a little bit, but it tries to coast. And that was weird to me because I'm so used to just driving regen. And actually, in a racing environment, like when we're trying to do performance driving, I love the regen. I think it's so fun to use. But I know a lot of people hate it.
All right, Dan, says again that my biggest complaint of the Model 3 is how low it is when my dad has to get in and out of it. But since COVID, his living facility is in lockdown, so that hasn't been a problem. I guess that's.
Oh, thanks COVID for that. No, I'm sure he's kidding.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, like I'm not that old yet. It is a little bit easier to get in and out of the Model Y. Not that that's a huge concern. All right.
Yeah.
Brad Sloan at Gigafactory Texas, Ranger Excavation is working 7 days a week on it.
Yeah, it looks like they are nonstop. I think that's the contractor that's doing the land preparation for it. Yeah, they have a ton of machinery there, and the drone videos are fun to watch.
Yeah, maybe we should do like roundups, like a weekly roundup of drone videos.
Yeah.
We used to do that on a 9 to 5 Mac on the when they were building the Campus 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, Brad Sloan, concrete company still in business. You can see the drone video that cement trucks are still being filled. Maybe they're making the foundation for the Gigafactory. All right, why not release a MR Model Y? Do you remove cells for lower cost? Maybe someday.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board with the idea. Yeah, we
about burgundy, purple.
All right, bye, Blitz.
All right, maybe crab mode is served with melted butter. All right, I think we're heading towards the end.
Yeah. Our coffins on wheels. Yeah, I mean, we don't have the crash test result just yet.
The Kandi cars are certainly going to be scrutinized for their cheapness and.
But don't underestimate the Chinese, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they can come up with something good. You'd be surprised.
But these are like electric egos in my book. They seem
yeah. At the same time, like if you want to say that, like the smart car is a small coffin, also on wheels. I mean, and it's not Daimler's fault for making a bad smart car. It's just like when you have a 2,000 pound car, if it get hit by a 5,000 pound car, who's gonna win? You think?
Right.
It's just physics. So. You cannot blame that for too much on that, and mini cars, small cars are allowed on the road. So if Kandi wants to make one,
people want to buy one.
Yeah, that's gonna be the hard part. That's gonna be the part where I'm interested about. See how it's received. Let's say that they get like 5-star rating, and like everything goes well and everything. Let's see even then if people are gonna buy it. All right. That was it for this episode of Electrek Podcast. Thanks a lot for watching on YouTube. You can give us a thumbs up if you like the episode. Subscribe if you want to see what's next. We have this. I'm going to get my Porsche Taycan Turbo S driving experience. Hopefully sometime next week when they send me the footage. And you can see it on the channel. Of course, I'm going to have an article on Electrek too. Then thanks a lot for listening on your podcast app. If you can give us a 5-star rating and a cool review, it's always appreciated. It helps out a lot with the podcast. And we're going to see you same time, same place next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.